Hello, SpongicX here, and today I'm going to talk about my thoughts on the Cuphead show, the newly released animated series based on the popular video game. So a lot of us know what the video game is. I mean, almost like everyone was blown away from this game when it was first revealed. It was basically a tribute to classic cartoons, but with an old bullet hell gameplay style. It's like part platformer, but mostly like a shooter where you gotta dodge. And yeah, like everyone knows this game is hard, but it's worth playing just for the visuals alone. But for that reason, it's more of a game that I've heard a lot of people admit they'd rather watch than play. And yeah, to this day, I still cannot 100% complete it. I still like the game though, I just wish it was a little easier. And yeah, we are getting the DLC that'll add Miss Chalice to it. Like they said, they'll give her a double jump, but I really don't think that'll help make the game any easier. So yeah, that's still kind of a bummer. But so yeah, overall I do enjoy it though, and so I was interested when I heard they were gonna make an animated series, because that's like the main reason a lot of people like Cuphead. I hear most people say they don't like it for the game itself. In a way similar to Epic Mickey, it's one of those games where it's not, like, while the game is good, it's not the gameplay people remember it for. It's, like, for Epic Mickey, it was mostly the story and the concept behind it, but for Cuphead, most people loved it because of the animation. Even those who've never seen, like, these classic cartoons were amazed by it, and so it must have been amazing for all these newcomers who didn't grow up with these shorts to learn, like, oh, this stuff existed, like, way before computers were a thing, and it got some people interested in actually researching up this stuff. And so I remember when I first saw the trailer, it wasn't quite what I was expecting, because it looked more like a modern cartoon, but after sitting down and watching the show, I gotta say it actually does a good job at blending the two. It feels like a mixture of an old cartoon with a new cartoon. I mean, it has kind of like the fast pace and writing of modern cartoons, but it has that old-timey feel and look of old cartoons, and so it's a good compromise. Like, yeah, you could say, like, for instance, with the new Looney Tunes cartoons, I always thought, like, those looked, they almost look like an old cartoon, but then you see, like, the tweening and all that, and it makes you realize, nah, it's a modern cartoon. It's like it's easy to look at it in still image form and mistake it for an old cartoon, but and then the style of writing and not animation, but the style of writing, like the gross out humor and all that, that feels way too modern. And so with Cuphead, it feels like a good mix between the two. I'll even argue it kind of looks more like an older cartoon better than the modern Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max, and that's interesting. Like how they have a light old filter effect to kind of make it look like it's running off an old film reel. Now, they don't do it too strong to where it's so obnoxious. They do it in a way where it feels like an old movie that's been really well restored on Blu-ray or something. So it's just slight little hints of dust and a flickering, but not a real bad case of it. And so, you know, I've seen a lot of cartoons like try to replicate that old-timey feel by adding in those old-time filters, and it just looks so unnatural. So it's amazing how this show actually does it in a way where it does feel natural. It really does feel like a cartoon that was discovered years ago and they restored it using like digital technology, and that's the vibe I got from it. And so there's 12 episodes altogether, and I'm not really familiar with a lot of the voice cast in this, but for the most part, the voice acting was good. The only two voice actors I was familiar with was, you have Wayne Brady, who was like one of the first voice actors announced for the show, and he plays King Dice, the second in command to the main villain of the series, the Devil. And I'm not familiar with who voices the Devil in this show, but I thought whoever he was, he did a good job, though. He was a pretty fun villain. Like, some of my favorite episodes were I think there were like 3 or 4 episodes that included him this season, and some of those were my favorites. So you could almost say like the main reoccurring plot of the story revolves around the Devil just wanting Cuphead's soul. He feels like he was tricked out of it after Cuphead basically cheated out, not really cheated, but he somehow weaseled his way out of a situation where he had, like in the first episode, he had this evil carnival, or should I say a carnival, where he was using like all of these carnival games to suck people's souls out when they lose. And so Cuphead is somehow like the only one lucky enough to not mess up on a skee ball game, and so he keeps winning. And so that like frustrates the Devil to the point of trying to get, you know, he's trying to get his soul from him. And ever since that day that he escaped along with Mugman, he's been wanting to get revenge. He wants to get Cuphead's soul, basically. So all he has to do is like reach into his body in a cartoony way and just pull out his soul. But there's like for a while there was like a little MacGuffin. They somehow managed to get like some invisible sweater that was devil proof, but they lost that like the episode right after they got it. So I'm sorry, I glossed over King Dice. Surprisingly, he was not in the show very long. He was only there for one episode, and he had, similar to like the devil, he had like this evil game show, except when people won, they lose their souls. And so he has like the game show basically rigged to where people will win, and somehow Cuphead is losing. And so, yeah, of course, that drives him crazy, and it makes the devil mad, because of course, just like in the games, he's working for the devil. And so, yeah, of course, unlike the video games, the devil's not running a casino or anything, but it does imply that he has many different sources of evil for his business. Like, it's even implied that, like, he's responsible for causing, like, 3 wars, and that's, like, a win for him, because he's gaining a bunch of souls for that. So, yeah, kind of dark humor there. This is mostly a kid's show. It's rated TV Y7, but it still has a bit of some dark humor here and there. So another voice I'm familiar with is Grey Griffin. She's the most recognizable actor in this show, in my opinion. So she starts off playing like minor background characters, but it isn't until episode 12, the season finale, where she's introduced as Miss Chalice. And so I'll get to her later. I just want to get like the recognizable voices out of the way first. I got a little sidetracked with describing the characters, but so as for the main characters themselves, Cuphead and Mugman, well, I wouldn't say they're unlikable. It just feels like characters you've seen done to death. Like to me, they basically feel like kind of like SpongeBob and Patrick, but not as dumb. Or probably a better example would be Gumball and Darwin, where sometimes they mean well, but they make some really foolish or dumb decisions. But they're not necessarily idiots per se. They're as idiotic as the episode requires them to. So there are some episodes where they think logically. Then there's some where they just make flat-out stupid decisions. So it varies by episodes. Otherwise, like, yeah, I heard some people complain about their voice acting in this show, and I really don't think it's that big of a deal. I didn't think they were annoying or anything. Like, yeah, I'll definitely admit they weren't the voices I was expecting from these characters, but it could have been worse. I'm just glad they don't sound like kids. They kind of sound like, grown-up men trying to sound a little younger, if anything, trying to sound rebellious and all that, but it's, so cartoony voices, but not, like, ear-grating, luckily, so they were tolerable for me. I would say, though, out of the two characters, I think Mugman's the better character. Cuphead's just kind of like the whiny, rebellious one, in a way, and then Mugman's kind of like the cowardly, but good-hearted one. They just like to have fun, and, they get in a lot of trouble in the process, and then they're looked after by their Elder Kettle. And I don't know if Elder Kettle, he was from the video games, but I don't know if he's supposed to be their actual relative or something, like if he's their grandpa or if he's an adoptive figure. But either way, he's like the old man grandpa type character. He's always telling them what not to do, and then they somehow find a way to break it. And so usually any episode that has Elder Kettle in it, it's like you know what to expect. Elder Kettle is basically just the kooky old man character, and he's always like leaving them in charge or leaving them behind to do something, and then they always like somehow try doing something instead, but then they want to get it fixed before he notices, or so stuff like that. The main thing people will remember this show for is the animation. For me, that was the highlight of the show. The animation was really good. While many can argue it's not as good as the video games, for a TV show, it's really good, though. There are some really nice shots and scenes in some episodes. For me, like I think like one of the best animated episodes was the cemetery episode with the ghosts. There's a lot of trippy visuals and a lot of nice tributes to the old dark Disney movies. So like some of the old shorts, like the Silly Symphonies or the Mickey Mouse shorts, Snow White, Sleepy Hollow, and stuff like that. There was just a lot of nice little tributes to a lot of these old Disney cartoons, and it was kind of nice to see Disney get some representation, because most often, while Cuphead's mostly a tribute to old cartoons, it mostly seems to heavily rely on nostalgia from the Fleischer cartoons, like Betty Boop or Popeye, and So it's nice to see that they did more than just that. They hid some Disney references in there. Like I just noticed like the way these two ghosts were moving in. Well, these ghosts were moving in one shot. Like not only did it kind of reflect the lonesome ghost from Mickey Mouse, but even like the pink elephants from Dumbo. And so yeah, there's a lot of nice animation nods in there. So while the show can definitely be praised for its animation, is the show itself any good, though? Well, I've heard some people complaining about the show for some reason. Like, the show's getting mixed reception right now. Like, a lot of people are praising it for its animation, but from what I've seen, some people are saying they're disappointed because the show's not, like, an ongoing story arc or something like that. I mean, the show has continuity, but it's not like the Cuphead video game where it's like, they're given like a conflict and they're given a goal and you see them going step by step to complete that goal. No, it's more like, each episode's like 18 minutes long and it's not a bunch of multiple segments either, like the Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max. So that kind of shocked me. I was expecting us to feel like a bunch of short films, instead it's I almost want to say like a full half hour of a show, but it's even less than that. It's just 18 minutes. So definitely longer than a typical 11-minute skit, but not as long as a full 22-minute episode of a show. So for me, the pacing wasn't too bad. I thought it was a nice compromise. It's not too short, it's not too long. It does feel strange how there are some episodes that are stretched out longer than they need to be. Like, the second episode just has them looking after a baby bottle, and it's, like, kind of demonic in a way. And so I felt like, that one felt like that could have been a short. I don't think it necessarily needed to be 18 minutes long. That was definitely one of the weaker episodes. A lot of people have spoken, and I know it's getting some negative responses out of people. Like, people are hating how there are people trashing the show just because of its plot and stuff like that. And yeah, I agree with a lot of the defenders. A lot of people are saying, you guys are complaining about a show that's based on old, simple cartoons. A game where you are fighting such ridiculous creatures. And for the most part, I think the show does do a good job at reflecting the video games. It's not like a direct continuation of it. It doesn't even seem to be part of the same canon. It just takes a lot of the characters and references from games you're familiar with, but it puts them in a completely different story. Take like the Kirby TV show, for example. That took a lot of the characters you saw from the video games and it kind of rearranged them. So not every character who was a villain in the Kirby games were a villain in the show and vice versa. And so Cuphead, though, it is keeping that in mind. Like, it does have a lot of the bad guys remain as bad guys, but it reintroduces them differently. Like I said, the devil is no longer running a casino. He's just running an evil empire now. And, or like how, King Dice was like the host of a TV show that was made by the devil, basically, and instead of just being the devil's right-hand man, or like his bouncer for his casino and stuff like that. So they changed some things up. You do get some nice appearances from some of the bosses as like main conflicts, including the two boxing frogs that were in that one nightclub level. You have the three vegetables from the first boss fight, like the carrot, the onion, and the potato. That was kind of interesting. You even have, like, although not a whole lot of villains make an appearance in the show, it was still nice to even see some cameos from some of them. Like, the three-headed dragon appears at the end of one episode. The pig shopkeeper appears, and he's kind of like the Squidward of this show, where Cuphead and Mugman keep going into a shop wanting to buy things or just mess around, and he gets annoyed with them. And so, yeah, that's the way I saw. He's like the Squidward of this show. So, then as for Miss Chalice, so she did, I remember like just wondering, how come she hasn't shown up yet? We know she's making an appearance in the show. She showed up in the title, the intro of the show, and they even showed like her in one of the trailers. So they saved her for the last episode, and boy, she got a completely different characterization. Like, in the video games, she kind of felt like, like one of those stereotypical spirit girls that, like, ask you for help or something, and then it's like they'll give you guidance if you help them, and she felt like one of those mystical, powerful creatures. So in this show, though, it was quite bizarre what they did with her. They turned her into a con artist. So, Cuphead and Mugman see how she's somehow, like, swindling a lot of people and tricking them into getting stuff just by doing, like, a cute routine. All she does is, like, do a little dance and say a little, jargons and stuff like that, and all of a sudden people just let her get away with things. Cuphead and Mugman being the troublemakers they are, she becomes a bad influence on them, and they want to learn from her. And so she starts teaching them the ropes, and then at the end it has to do with where they break into a cookie factory. But big spoiler alert, the show has a bit of a cliffhanger ending. And as far as I know, the show is renewed for more episodes. I hope it is, because if not, this is quite a... I mean, that would be unfortunate if this really was the last episode. I mean, it teases, it even flat out says to be continued, so I have a feeling they are working on more. I don't see why they'd end it so abruptly, 12 episodes in. But so anyways, the police show up, and Miss Chalice, she's warning the guys to leave, but they're not listening, and so she has no choice but to bail on them. And it's revealed that she's still a ghost, though. And so it makes you wonder if, when the show continues, are they going to give her some kind of backstory, like explain how she died, why she's still alive somehow, or I don't know. But I did think it's like, okay, at least I got one thing about her character right. She is a spirit. It's just so jarring, though, that they turned her into a con artist. She doesn't look or act like that at all in the original game. She really felt like a good character who you had to help, and here it's like she was a real troublemaker. I did think Grey Griffin was a great voice for her, though. There's something about her voice where it really feels like it's a nice tribute to some of those old voices you'd hear in some old cartoons, like Betty Boop's voice or something. It felt like she was kind of trying to do like an homage to that, and yeah, she fit in really well. So the episode ends where after Chalice bails on them, the two get locked up behind bars, and it says to be continued. It's like the show just ends there, so... yeah, that might be a bit upsetting or frustrating for some. Such a weird way to end a series, season, I mean. But what about the episodes themselves? They are very episodic. They don't have like a big ongoing plot aside from the devil just wanting Cuphead's soul and the big cliffhanger at the end. Overall, though, I thought the show itself, while it was really great to look at, it was nothing special, though. Like, I enjoyed watching it, though, but I feel like a lot of these episodes are stuff I've seen done to death. These are, like, stuff you would see, like, on Disney afternoon cartoons, Nickelodeon cartoons, Saturday morning cartoons, Cartoon Network cartoons, just kid shows in general. You have, like, the typical episodes, like, oh, the two kids are left at home, they're told not to break something, they break it, what do? Or, oh, they find a baby and they don't know how to take care of it, or... It just has very generic plots, and, there's nothing wrong with doing generic plots. The problem is that it just feels so formulaic. It feels like you know what's going to happen. You have, another example is you have an episode where a character overhears two other characters, and he thinks they're talking about them, and it's like, oh no, those two are plotting to kill me or something, and it's like you've seen that done to death, and there's just, it doesn't matter how different the characters are, or how differently they word it, it's still the exact same episode. You can predict how it's going to go down. And so that was the biggest problem for me with Cuphead. While the writing wasn't bad, it just felt like stuff you've seen done to death. And it wasn't like laugh out loud hilarious or anything, but the only episode that actually did give me a good laugh was, as generic as it was, I did get a laugh out of the episode where Elder Kettle thinks that Mugman and Cuphead are plotting to kill him. He overhears them talking about Cuphead's dead worm, and somehow he mistakens everything they're saying about him. And I don't know, like, it's been done to death, but I think it was just the animation, the facial expressions, and the voice acting that made it for me. But otherwise, most of the other episodes weren't anything like special, though. Like, some of them kind of made my mind wander a bit. Like, I wasn't losing entire focus, but it's like, it wasn't keeping me hooked like some other shows. So, yeah, Cuphead, it's not a bad show. It is worth watching for the animation, but don't expect it to be anything mind-blowing. It's just another simple show, mostly aimed at family audiences. But it's harmless, though. I am glad I saw it, though. Hopefully, if the show does continue, it only gets better from here. I'm not sure if it was really worth the price, though, because, I haven't watched Netflix in a long time, and the only reason I resubscribed to it was to check out the new Cuphead show. And on the bright side, though, there's more shows coming out to Netflix. I mean, Sonic Prime, that's bound to come out sometime eventually. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, I do plan on checking that out later, whenever that comes out, but... So yeah, Cuphead show, it's not terrible. I don't think it deserves a lot of the harsh criticism it's getting. Like, yes, the show could be better, but I wouldn't call it a bad show. I honestly, when it comes to reflecting the video games it's based on, it was very nostalgic. I wasn't disappointed in that aspect. So it doesn't heavily rely on copying what the games did, though. So you won't see the characters having powers where they can shoot, like, magical tonics out of their fingers or whatever. It doesn't have any of that. But what it does have in its place, though, are the characters and placing them in different conflicts, and it still reminds me of the charm of the video games, though, from, like, the music, the bouncy animations, and in that aspect, it's probably one of the better video game-based TV series. It's not like cringy like the old Mario or Sonic cartoons from Deke Animation. It's nothing like that, at least. It's not like Sonic Boom, where it's funny on its own, but it doesn't really reflect the video games much. I would say Cuphead does do a good job at reflecting the video games in a way, just not necessarily the gameplay. It does a good job at taking the setting from the games, and I do feel like it would be distracting if they did bring in a lot of elements that were from the games. Like, the characters were constantly shooting powers or collecting power-ups, like in the old Mario cartoons. That would feel very distracting. It doesn't feel like it belongs in a TV show. Some things are better off just staying in a video game, than they feel like just Deus Ex Machinas, inconvenient items. Or, like, I remember how some people would complain how in Sonic X, like, how Sonic had, like, those power rings where every time he collected them, he could just, like, spin up and spin through everything. So people just point out, why doesn't he just use that all the time then? And so, yeah, for that reason, I'm glad they don't have any power-ups in this. It's just simple misadventures with two Cup brothers. And yeah, I did like how this show confirmed that Cuphead and Mugman are indeed brothers. Because, like, the title screen on the game made it just sound like they were friends, at least. Because Cuphead and his pal, Mugman. And so a lot of people looked at them like, they seem like brothers to me, similar like the Mario Brothers, and that's kind of the vibe I got from this so far. It's like Mario Brothers, but cups. But yeah, sorry, I ranted on about this long enough, but yeah, Cuphead show on Netflix, it's not bad. It could be better, though, but I think it's still worth watching, though. I just don't think it's necessarily worth, like, getting Netflix just for, though. Like, if you're one who hasn't had Netflix before and you're tempted to watch it, I wouldn't say it's necessary to pay like the $9, $15, or $20 a month just to watch it. But for those who already have Netflix or don't mind spending the money, then yeah, I definitely give Cuphead a chance. But it's not a show you absolutely have to see. But for the animation alone, it is worth it, though. Well, I think that's all I have to say for now. So thank you for watching. See you next time, and have a great day.